I was saying, y'all, about Rico from Street Scores, and I know I've been gone, but I had to come back for the reveal of the Washington Commanders 2023 schedule. Both schedules. We have the preseason schedule and the regular season schedule. We got to talk about everything, man. We got to talk about all of the quarterbacks that we have to go against. Is it worse than last year? How does it compare to 2021 as well? We got to talk about strength of schedule. Did we deserve this? What is the strength of everybody's schedule in the division? Especially looking at the Giants schedule. They got hated on even worse than we did, but we have some really interesting situations because we have twice where we have to play somebody after like 4 days, and then we have a really late bye week. We got to talk about the fact that we play on Thanksgiving. Of course, I got to give y'all a record prediction and what's the floor of a record that we need to have to make the playoffs. And I feel like it's playoffs or bust for this organization. Otherwise, Josh Harris and company are all going to come in and clean sweep. How many primetime games do the Commanders have? How many primetime games does everybody have? Who has the most? Who has zero? At least we have 2. Other teams out here have 0. So, hey, man, we'll take it. But we're going to dive into everything. I mean, there's some really interesting matchup, random little things that you may not notice, even just from this week 1 Arizona Cardinals game coming up. Eric Bieniemy versus Jonathan Gannon. Really interesting, man. Also, man, got to take a look at Sam Howell versus Colt McCoy, the guy that he's been getting comped to for the past few days for some crazy reason. And we have 122 days until week 1 against the Cardinals, so the countdown begins now. But before we dive into all of that, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell next to the subscription button so you get notification immediately. And every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one, make sure you pull up to the Sunday call-in show live stream next Sunday, not this upcoming one, but next Sunday, where we're gonna have the call-in show. Everybody calls in. We're gonna talk draft. We're gonna talk schedule. We're gonna talk potential free agents that are available that we may want to bring in with certain holes that we still have on the team. We can talk rookies. Call in, talk about whatever. So, and then also I'm gonna start working on these film sessions. I officially have access to my film sessions, so be on the lookout for every rookie that we drafted and even some undrafted free agent guys that we brought in. Film sessions for all of them. So without further ado, let's get it.
You tell your family you can be a commander.
All right, so before we do a deep dive into the schedule, because we're going to have to break this down, man. We got to take a look at the road game situation. What are our best chances of winning? What are the biggest back-to-back struggles that we'll have this season, timing and opponent-wise? We're going to look at everything, the quarterbacks we go against, like I already said in the intro. But I just want to go ahead and read out the schedule. Just go ahead and get that out the way. Now, you can see on the screen like a nice graphic of the schedule, but I'm going to tell you every little detail. So, preseason week 1 to be determined date-wise at the Cleveland Browns. Still don't know the time, and we don't even know the TV provider yet as well. But week 2 preseason, we know that's August 21st against the Baltimore Ravens per usual, and then that's at 8 p.m. on ESPN. Then week 3 to be determined, we'll go against the Cincinnati Bengals in the preseason. Time, we don't know. TV, we don't know. Regular season, though, we know everything. So week 1, September 10th, again, mark it on your calendars, 122 days away. We go against the Arizona Cardinals, 1 p.m. in Washington, in Maryland, on Fox. So this time the Cardinals play us at home rather than there. I remember the Adrian Peterson game. That was a really fun game. We won that. Hopefully we can repeat history. Week 2, September 17th at the Denver Broncos, 4:25 p.m. on CBS. Week 3, September 24th, Buffalo Bills at 1 p.m. on CBS. And this time we play the Buffalo Bills in Maryland rather than in Buffalo, where we got mutilated the last time we played them. And then week 4, October 1st at Philadelphia Eagles, 1 p.m. Fox. That just kind of seems like, is it just Buffalo Bills and then Philadelphia Eagles within the first 3 to 5 weeks of the season? That's just what they're going to keep doing. And Arizona Cardinals, week 1, when in doubt, pull that out the back pocket. Week 5, October 5th, on a Thursday, Chicago Bears, 8:15 p.m. prime time game, Amazon Prime to be exact, again. And then week 6, October 15th, at Atlanta Falcons, 1 p.m. CBS. And I definitely want to go to that game. Week 7, October 22nd, at the New York Giants, 1 p.m. CBS. Week 8, October 29th, Philadelphia Eagles, 1 p.m. p.m. in Washington, well, in Maryland, on Fox. And most of the time, it's either Fox or CBS. Actually, every time, other than the preseason, it's Fox or CBS, other than, of course, the primetime game, the Amazon Prime game against the Bears. And so that means we play the Eagles twice within the first 8 weeks of the season, which is really interesting. Then week 9, November 5th, at New England Patriots, 1 p.m. on Fox. That's Shay's team. Make sure you write that down and circle that on the calendar because we got to get that one. Say New England. Week 10, November 12th, at Seattle Seahawks, 4:25 p.m. on Fox. Week 11, November 19th, New York Giants in Maryland, 1 p.m. on Fox. Week 12, November 23rd, on a Thursday, at Dallas Cowboys, Thanksgiving game, 4:30 p.m. CBS. Week 13, December 3rd, Miami Dolphins, 1 p.m. on Fox. Then our bye week is week 14, which is pretty late, man. Woo! By the time we get to that stretch of Seahawks, Giants, Cowboys, Dolphins, boy, I hope we're healthy, man. I really do. And then that bye week is going to come at a really good time. Week 15, we come back. We return to football December 17th at the Los Angeles Rams, which is good because at least in December 17th, we're going to be somewhere warm if you want to actually go to the game. That's quite nice. Maybe my boy Stetson Bennett is starting by then. 4:05 p.m. CBS Sports. But of course, I mean, that game, West Coast games gets a little weird. Week 16, December 24th at the New York Jets, 1 p.m. So we got to go play in New York twice this season. We play against the Giants twice, one at home, and then we also play the Jets. So we got to go to New Jersey to play twice this season. If you just happen to live in the area, that's nice. Week 17, December 31st, San Francisco 49ers, we have them at home this time, 1 p.m. on Fox. And then week 18, to be determined right now, we got to see one of those flex games against the Dallas Cowboys. If there are strong playoff implications from that game for either us or the Cowboys or both, that game is going to be flexed into one of the later time slots, like 8 p.m. or something like that. Maybe Saturday, maybe Sunday. We'll see, man. But I'm really excited. Either way, we don't know where that's going to be aired, when or whatever, but we do know it's in Maryland. So we end the season with 2 home games against the 49ers and Cowboys, even though that is a rough stretch. If you think about the opponents in a row, I mean, I guess you can kind of hate on the Patriots and say they're not that good, but at Seattle, against New York, at the Cowboys, against the Dolphins, I mean, maybe it's a good thing to play the Dolphins later in the year because maybe Tua will be hurt or something like that, even though I don't want to count on or depend on any of that in this schedule. We need to be ready to beat everybody while fully healthy, but those are factors that you can calculate. Really, the only relatively decent game out of that run is the Rams. You have, again, Seahawks, Giants, Cowboys, Dolphins. Bye week, Rams, Jets, 49ers, Cowboys. That's crazy, man. I mean, maybe we get to a point where the 49ers, Jets, or Cowboys already have their playoffs secured, but I doubt it. Because, I mean, first of all, the AFC side, the Jets, I feel like they're going to be going down to the wire to the very last game for everybody. Maybe except for whoever the eventual number 1 seed is. Maybe it's the Chiefs, whoever. Everybody else is going to be fighting, probably playing meaningful minutes in that last week of the season. And then the 49ers and Cowboys, man, you never know. Because the NFC West is tough. The NFC East is arguably even tougher. Arguably the toughest division in the NFC at the very least. Arguably one of the toughest divisions in football. So that's probably going to go all the way down to the wire. And maybe even the Cowboys want to win that last game. But then again, last time we played the Cowboys, the last game of the season last year, and they wanted to win the game, we spanked them. So we'll see how that goes. Now let's go ahead and dive into the fact that, first of all, everybody should know that we knew even before this schedule came out that we played the NFC West and the AFC East this year, which is not easy at all. The AFC East got some dogs in it. The NFC West got some dogs in it, especially now that Geno Smith and Seattle, the way that Seattle drafted, getting Devon Witherspoon, adding them to Tariq Woolen. And I believe they got Jackson Smith and Jigba too, so now we got to deal with that's going to be crazy. The Seahawks are crazy. The 49ers are crazy. The Cardinals are the easiest team in that division by far. That is a really tough division right there. I still don't think it's necessarily the NFC East, but we're going to dive into that. Again, we're going to get into all of this. I'm really excited. But just to let you know, strength of schedule wise, we have the 8th toughest schedule in the NFL. And you're probably like, well, we didn't even make the playoffs. Why is our schedule so tough? But again, we already knew that we were playing the NFC West and the AFC East even before the schedule came out. That's already been assigned to us since years ago. We knew that. You can already look ahead to 2025 and see what teams we're playing. We're just waiting to find out when and where and things like that. No, actually, we know the where. We know opponents. We know home and away. We know all of that already. You can look in 2025. So it's not like the NFL just tried to get a quick one over us and do us dirty by giving us the 8th toughest schedule, because if you're just going off of opponent win percentage, it's really not the much we can do. But out of the NFC East, we have the easiest schedule. Even though we're the 8th toughest schedule, the rest of the NFC East is even harder, because the Cowboys are tied for 3rd with the Giants, and then the Eagles have the toughest schedule in the entire NFL. And it just so happens that the Chiefs have a easier schedule just because of the opponents they have to play. They're 16th after just winning the Super Bowl, and the Eagles are 1st after going to the Super Bowl. It's tragic, man. The Eagles have to play an opponent combined record of 161 wins. They're the only team that's 160 and above as far as opponent win percentage with wins. We have a 0.535 opponent win percentage, which again is 8th. The Cowboys have a 0.549, tied with the Giants, and then the Eagles have a 0.566. That is crazy, man. That is insane. So because we were 4th in the division, our schedule is slightly lighter than the other NFC East division players, teams, and things like that. We play the 4th in each division. Like, whenever we can, we play the worst team in the other division, while the Eagles play the best team and things like that. So that's how the schedule helps us a little bit. But at the end of the day, when you got to go against the NFC West and the AFC East, it's tough regardless. Now, you can argue that maybe this quarterback gauntlet is not as ridiculous as the 2021 one, but I would say that it's definitely a little bit more difficult than the 2022 one. All right, so let's just go in order. We'll start with 2021. This was the toughest one in my opinion, especially the way that they looked that year. Like, we got to take into account what Russell Wilson looked like in 2021. We had Justin Herbert, Daniel Jones, Josh Allen, Matt Ryan, Jameis Winston, Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, Teddy Bridgewater, Tom Brady, Cam Newton, Russell Wilson, Derek Carr, Dak twice, Jalen Hurts twice, and then, we got away with that Jake Fromm one, and sadly, he's on our team, so what can we do about that? We can't go against him if he's playing for us. And then 2022, they let up on us a little bit, even though it was still really tough. I'm not acting like it was easy, but it was Trevor Lawrence, week 1, we caught him at the best time, Jared Goff, and he balled out on us. That was sad. Jalen Hurts, which, you could argue he was one of the league MVP candidates last year. Dak Prescott twice, and hey, man, Dak Prescott, he just doesn't look the same once the weather gets cold. Thank goodness. Ryan Tannehill couldn't stay healthy, but even then, he out there broke a crazy Montez Sweat sack to make a play. It's ridiculous. Justin Fields balled out on us, even though he was terrible at times in that game. There were just things he was doing in that game that nobody on our QB roster could even dream of doing. And then he got better as the year went on. We were lucky to play the Bears when we did, because that would have been a definitive, probably blowout loss if we would have played them later in the season. Aaron Rodgers, Sam Ellinger, we got lucky with that, and we still barely beat them. Taylor Heineke wanted to lose that game so bad until Terry McLaurin had one of his best highlights of his career. Kirk Cousins, we should have won that game. Davis Mills, we dominated that like we should have a lot of other games. Marcus Mariota, that run game was killing us. Daniel Jones twice. Brock Purdy, who knew going into the season? And then Deshaun Watson didn't even play that well, and we still lost. But now I would say this upcoming QB gauntlet is somewhere in between those two. Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts twice. He's only getting better. Aaron Rodgers with better weapons. He may not necessarily be getting better individually, but he has better weapons. Matthew Stafford's not on a good team, but Georgia Bulldog, I believe in him. Dak Prescott twice, one of those times in December, so I expect to see 2 completely different quarterbacks there. Russell Wilson is not the same, but we'll see. Daniel Jones twice always kills us, so I'm not going to say anything disrespectful towards Daniel Jones. I've seen enough to know that as a Commanders fan, we have no right to say anything about Daniel Jones. Tua Tagovailoa, if he's healthy, diddly. Geno Smith, diddly. Brock Purdy / Trey Lance, we'll see how that goes. Justin Fields is just, they got him. DJ Moore and all of these different weapons, a better O-line. That can get scary for us. That's nowhere near the easy win that a lot of people thought it would be from last year. Then Mac Jones, don't really believe in him much. Desmond Ridder, don't believe in him much either. And then we got Colt McCoy week 1. Sam Howell versus Colt McCoy is going to be fun. So this quarterback gauntlet is definitely somewhere in between 2021 and 2022 as far as difficulty. We'll see. Now, Arizona week 1, I like the fact that the NFL wanted us to get off on a good foot. There's technically no easy wins in the NFL, and I'm pretty sure the Arizona Cardinals are looking at us the exact same way that we're looking at them. But our schedule-wise, you could safely well, really, you just can't, but it just feels like the NFL was like, hey, Dan Snyder finally sold the team. At least start off with a win under the Josh Harris era. I mean, they could have done us way dirtier with anybody else that we play on our schedule. The Arizona Cardinals, you can easily argue, is the least difficult, the easiest opponent that we have. Catching them week 1 with a new head coach, new regime completely. Kyler Murray may not even be healthy. It's probably going to be Colt McCoy versus Sam Howell. And I don't know what's been going on with this whole Colt McCoy, Sam Howell comp. I don't get it. I mean, even just arm strength alone is kind of insane to me, but it is what it is, man. I'm not even going to get into that too much. I saw people talking about it the past few days, and I just looked at it like, man, it doesn't even feel like it's really worth my time to dive into. So it is what it is there, but people are going to get that matchup where people are going to be bringing up this past week, 122 days from now, people are going to be bringing up this week, talking about the Colt McCoy versus Sam Howell comparisons. He better go out there and win that. Also, this is a Super Bowl rematch of coordinators. The Chiefs offensive coordinator, Eric Bieniemy, is once again going against the Eagles defensive coordinator and Jonathan Gannon. Eric Bieniemy is now the Commanders offensive coordinator, assistant head coach. Jonathan Gannon is now the Cardinals head coach, just point blank period, the top guy. So it's offense from the Super Bowl versus the defense in the Super Bowl, again meeting up week 1, basically 2 weeks in a row. Eric Bieniemy is having a scheme against Jonathan Gannon technically 2 weeks in a row NFL wise, which is really interesting. I mean, if you're ignoring preseason and if you're ignoring the like 9 months in between, it's technically back to back. So man, it's really interesting, man. I mean, first of all, the Thanksgiving game, we got to talk about that. I mean, I just hate the fact more than anything else that we go from November 19th against the Giants to going all the way to Dallas and having to play November 23rd. That's ridiculous. That's insane. That is insane, really, man. We have the 20th, the 21st, and the 22nd days of rest. 3 days of rest, and then we got to play 8 p.m. on the 23rd. Now, when you have a short week, that means the week afterwards we have a lot of time to prepare. So we have a short week going into that Bears game, which means we have a long week to prepare for the Falcons after that. And then we have a short week going from the Giants game to the Cowboys game, but then we have a long time to prepare for the Dolphins. We'll see how that goes. And then after the Dolphins game, we have a bye week. So we technically have 2 long weeks in a row to prepare for our next opponents. We have 10 days before the Dolphins game and then 14 days before the Rams game, which is interesting. But I mean, I feel like I would have preferred to have those longer weeks before other opponents. Like, I don't feel like we need a whole bye week to prepare for the Rams out of anybody that we play on our schedule. But hey, man, it is what it is. Definitely would have preferred an earlier bye week. But hey, man, we got what we got. But yeah, this Thanksgiving game is going to be really interesting. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to stream that because I'm a big family person. Always with my family on Thanksgiving. We'll see how that goes, but I may at least try to do like a live stream, maybe from my phone, reacting to the game afterwards or something like that. We'll see. But yeah, man, I hope that Thanksgiving game is fun. It should be, I believe it. I did say it is in Dallas, right? Yep, it's in Dallas. So, you know, it's always in Dallas too. It's always in Dallas. Dallas is always going to get their home field territory and Thanksgiving and things like that. That's going to be a tough one. But week 18 Cowboys, I don't think is going to be anywhere near as tough as we clearly saw last year. But also, one team you got to sleep on. I mean, you can look at the schedule. Let's say the Cardinals are one of our easiest opponents. You can maybe argue the Broncos kind of with the way that Russell Wilson looked last year. I guess the Bears, even though I'm afraid of them. And then the Rams are sneaky. The Rams aren't good, but you never know. And then, I mean, you never doubt the Patriots with Bill Belichick. Everybody else is a certified tough opponent. And then you basically get to the Falcons where if you want to say the team that's most improved going from 2022 to 2023, you can argue it's the Falcons. And I want to go to that game too. You know, I'm in Atlanta. I went last time we played in Atlanta. And I hate the fact that we keep playing the Falcons year after year after year. I remember when I was in high school, we would play them once every 4 years, if that it felt like. And they would beat us, and then they would have trash talking rights over me for 4 years. And now as soon as we get better than the Falcons, we got to play them every year. So I only get a year's worth of trash talking to all my friends and stuff. So I feel like they're doing that to hate on me. I don't know why we keep playing the Falcons back to back. But either way, I'm happy that if we're going to play the Falcons, it's in Atlanta because I may be able to pull up again just like last time, show everybody love, pop out, shake everybody's hands, take pictures, all that type of stuff, man. So I'm excited about that. Of course, if you got to pick a can't-lose game, you would probably say it's the easiest opponent on your schedule. Again, I'm quotating it because nobody's easy in the NFL. It's the Cardinals week 1, new head coach, a lot of new changes to everything. I mean, it's a whole new offense, it's a whole new head coach, whole new culture, a lot of changes to the Cardinals, man. So I got to see if they can go out there and do something with it. And I felt like we beat the Cardinals when we were worse and they were better. So if we got better and they got worse, I feel like we should win. So that has to be a must-win game. Because if you lose the week 1 against the Cardinals, Ron Rivera probably gets fired right then and there. Because if you're looking at your schedule and you can't beat the Cardinals, you're like, who can you beat? Can you beat the Falcons? Doubt it. If you can't beat the Cardinals, I mean, the NFL is weird, but if you can't beat the Cardinals, can you expect to beat the Broncos? And I know you definitely don't expect to beat the Bills, the Eagles, the Giants, the Cowboys, the Seahawks, the Jets, the 49ers, the Dolphins, if you can't beat the Cardinals. So that's, if I had to pick a must-win game, that would be that for that. And then if we're talking about like the best offense we face this schedule, you could argue it's between the Eagles and probably the Bills now that they have Dalton Kincaid. But honestly, if the Giants just get some good receivers, man, that's scary too. And then the Dolphins, you also got to throw them in there as well. I think it's an argument between the Eagles twice or the Dolphins, or if the Dolphins are healthy, the best offense we have to go against. You can even throw the Jets in there as well. So those are our top offenses that we have to go against. So those are games that our defense needs to circle on the calendar and be ready for. Like, we better scheme something up. Jack Dorito, you better get in your bag for that. And then if we're talking about the strongest defense that we face all season, I feel like you could probably just go ahead and give that to the 49ers. Now, granted, the Seahawks drafting Devon Witherspoon. They already have Tariq Woolen. Their defense looked really good last year, and Bobby McCain just went back. The Bills are always tough. The Eagles, all of the Georgia Bulldogs, man, I don't even want to talk about it. We're just going to skip past that. I'm going to act like that didn't even happen. The Jets is a really talented defense, too. I mean, Sauce Gardner. But if I had to say top to bottom, it's probably the 49ers, maybe the Eagles second. We'll see. But those are some of the toughest defenses we play this upcoming season. So I'm really excited about that. You can do your own predictions as far as where we'll place in a division. But I'm thinking that we'll probably go 10-7. And that's a very optimistic 10-7. But I'm going to give my logic as to why I feel like we will go 10-7 and why we have to go 10-7. We're going to get to that. Also, another interesting look at the schedule is that our first 4 games, well, the first 4 out of 6 games are against non-playoff teams. So that's kind of some help. You got the Cardinals, the Broncos, the Bears, and the Falcons out of the first 6 games. And those 4 teams that I just listed out of those 6 games are non-playoff teams. But again, the Falcons are very much so improved. The Bears, don't take them lightly. You never know if Russell Wilson may figure it out. And so that's not as easy as it sounds, but we'll see. But whoo! That last half of the schedule is where it gets really ugly. But again, like I already said earlier, man, 2 short weeks, that really is going to hurt us eventually. I could just see it already. And then primetime games wise, I mean, Ari Melroth, my sports update, I'm not exactly sure how you pronounce his last name. I've never heard his last name actually pronounced. That may be my first time really even trying to say it out loud. But he ranked all of the primetime games by team. There's 4 teams that have 6, the Kansas City Chiefs, the Chargers, the Buffalo Bills, and the Cowboys. And then there's a lot of teams that have 5. There's the most that any column has is 4, with 7 teams that have 4. 4 teams have 3. 5 teams have 2, and then technically he says that we only have 1, but I don't believe that he's counting the Thanksgiving game against the Cowboys. So we kind of have 2 primetime games, so you could put us up there with the Buccaneers, the Cleveland Browns, Tennessee Titans, the Carolina Panthers, and the Los Angeles Rams. And I just feel like we should be better than all of those teams. I mean, maybe the Cleveland Browns, but I feel like we should be better than those other teams. I mean, you can never sleep on the Tennessee Titans as well. And so then if we don't count as 1, technically no team has 1 primetime game, which leaves us with 0, which is the Houston Texans, the Atlanta Falcons, the Arizona Cardinals, and Indianapolis Colts with 0 primetime games. That's really interesting as well. And then the reason why I predict us to go 10-7, first of all, I'm very optimistic about this team, even though it doesn't necessarily feel like we added a whole lot of talent. You can easily argue that our biggest offseason acquisition was the signing of Eric Bieniemy. None of the free agent players we signed, none of the draft players that we signed, even though I feel like all of those guys are going to have big impacts on this team, Eric Bieniemy was our most important signing, drafted, anybody we brought on to the organization. I mean, you can honestly argue maybe Josh Harris and those guys over the place of Dan Snyder, but on the field wise, Eric Bieniemy is going to be a huge upgrade. So I just feel like the offensive line is going to be better because he's going to scheme up an offense and call plays that hide their weaknesses, just like he did for Andrew Wiley last year with the Chiefs. I feel like he's going to do that with everybody. Charles Leno, not put him in situations where he allows a strip sack by Kayvon Thibodeau. Eric Bieniemy's not going to even allow him to be in that situation. Sam Howell also, I mean, like I've been telling y'all, Taylor Heineke and Carson Wentz ranked in the 30s in QBR last year. There's only 32 NFL teams. They both ranked in the 30s, which is worse than some teams' backups. If Sam Howell can at least be a top 20 quarterback, we're immensely better than we were last year, just quarterback-wise alone. And then, I mean, we didn't even get a lot of our rookies last year. Fidarian Mathis missed basically the entire season. Brian Robinson had to miss the first few games after getting shot, and even then, he was never really at any point last season the explosive Alabama version of himself, and I'm expecting to get that out of him this year. So it's kind of like almost two of our players from last year's draft, the 2022 draft, are almost going to feel like they're part of this 2023 class, especially Fidarian Mathis. Then I felt like we did some pretty good things in free agency. I still feel like we probably will. I feel like we'll probably bring in a linebacker, maybe even a starting guard if they get released in free agency before we get to training camp, maybe even during training camp or whatever. And so I just feel like this team is only going to be better. Now, granted, the NFC East is deadly. The NFC West is deadly. Our schedule is crazy. But the NFC is wide open, and we almost made the playoffs last year with as bad as our quarterback play was, with as bad as our offensive coordinating was, and just overall injuries and things like that. It just assuming that all of that just can't be as bad as it was last year. For us to be able to go, where did we go last year? 8-1? We should easily be able to win one more game just off of that. But I honestly feel like we'll probably go 10-7. You got to remember, the Seattle Seahawks had the worst record out of any team that made the playoffs last year at 9-8, and several teams went 9-8. So I feel like the floor honestly has to be 10-7 for us to make the playoffs. And again, we got to make the playoffs because this playoffs a bust for Ron Rivera, Martin Mayhew, and a lot of people on this team. I'm not even sure if Eric Bieniemy survives if we don't make the playoffs. It's got to be pressure on all of these guys to perform out there, players and everybody. So man, I'm really excited. The betting lines are already coming out for the Commanders and things like that. This is really interesting. Of course, we are doubted in most of it. We are only favored twice this entire season, actually. So according to betting lines, we're technically going to go 2-15, but of course that's not going to happen. We're nowhere near that bad, even though if we did, Caleb Williams or Drake May, but we'll see. But either way, they only have us favored against the Cardinals week 1 and the Bears week 5. That's it. So if you care about that sort of thing from DraftKings, of course, they're not always right and things like that. They're not even right most of the time, so I don't really care about all of that. But that just goes to show how people feel about us entering the season and that people just aren't high on the Commanders, and that's why we only have 1/2 primetime games. I think we're going to surprise a lot of people. I feel like even us going 8-1 surprised a lot of people because a lot of people thought we would do worse than that. So I'm thinking we're going to exceed those expectations even more, especially Emmanuel Forbes being able to create turnovers for this defense that's been dominant. Montez Sweat and Chase Young going to be playing their hearts out for that next contract. We have a lot of motivated guys on this team. Curtis Samuel, Cameron Curl, Kendall Fuller, Antonio Gibson. All of these guys are fighting for their next contracts, so we should get the best out of them, if anything. And so I'm really excited about this upcoming season. Again, I think we're going to outplay some people and outperform a lot of people's expectations. Again, I have 10-7, but I can see a scenario where we do even better than that if everything works out. This is me being optimistic, but at the same time not assuming that Sam Howell's going to be a top 10, top 5 quarterback, not assuming that Eric Bieniemy is the greatest offensive coordinator mind in the world. I think he's going to be a huge improvement to what we've had, but just assuming that he's not the smartest offensive coordinator in NFL history, just kind of tampering expectations a little bit across the board. And I'm assuming Emmanuel Forbes is going to ball out, but I don't think he's going to go out there and just have several pick sixes his rookie season. So just to kind of nerf expectations and optimism a little bit, I think 10-7 is a very safe, realistic, and still some optimism in their record that we have. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video. Please leave a like on this video if you liked it, if you learned anything. Let me know how you feel about this schedule. What's your record prediction? What are some of the random things you noticed in the schedule, like I pointed out, like the 2 short weeks, how we play 4 out of 6 non-playoff teams to start the season, kind of like a pick-me-up for the Commanders, new ownership, new offensive coordinator, all of that type of stuff, new starting quarterback. They're like, here, the NFL's like, here, we'll help you out a little bit, even though the schedule is as tough as 8th hardest in the NFL, but we tried to make it as light as possible with the opponents that you have to play already scheduled. There's nothing we can really do about that. But yeah, man, I'm really excited. Let me know again how you feel about this entire schedule, and I'm gonna catch y'all later, man. Really appreciate y'all. Shouts out to all of my sponsors, especially my Pro Bowl sponsors whose name you see scrolling on the screen right now. Leave a like on this video if you liked it and learned anything. Catch y'all later. I'm out.